Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Leavell, and I'm one of the counselors at Biblical Counseling of Arizona. And wanted to talk to you about one of the questions that we receive at BCA about what the difference is about biblical counseling versus, say, going to a Christian psychologist or a Christian counselor, and what we believe is a more comprehensive and a more thorough way to help people who are coming for help. So take, for example, a couple comes for counseling and they've been fighting because they need to buy a house. And one of them wants a one-story house and one of them wants a two-story house. And they just can't see where the other one's coming from. And they've gotten kind of vicious towards each other. One of them is uh, like the husband saying that she's being disrespectful to him and she doesn't understand his perspective. And she's saying, no, you're very unloving to me. You're very unkind. You're just all at me rather than just talking to me. You're not hearing my heart. What do you do? So they're asking you to help them solve the issue. Well, what's the issue? And really, there's two factors as counselors that we see as biblical counseling that would differ in our approach as opposed to, say, a Christian psychologist or a Christian counselor who integrates psychology. One is what the underlying problem is, and then two, what the underlying solution is. So we both perspectives are going to see that there's more going on than just them fighting over the house, right? Just to illustrate, I'm not an artist, but I've got behind me what we can pretend is an iceberg. So above the surface here, here's the issue of the house, right? What are we going to do, one story or two story? If you help them find the answer to that question and just kind of weigh the pluses and minuses of both, have you really helped them? Yeah, yeah, you've helped them because now you've helped them solve one of their issues that they've been struggling with, what kind of a house they want to buy. But long term, are they going to continue to struggle? Yeah, they are. Because there are differences that they are not working through. Their communication stinks. They are not seeing each other's perspective on things. They're not even really talking to each other as different genders. He's talking to her like he's talking to one of the dudes, and she's just can't understand why he can't talk gently to her and talk more loving. He's just such a brute. So if you help them through that, well, let me top one more. You talk to them and you get some more background on their differences and things, and you find out from her that the idea of a two-story house is actually very traumatic because she had a childhood friend who got trapped in a two-story home while it was on fire and died in a bedroom because they couldn't get out because they were on the second story. So no, we're not having a two-story house because that triggers my fear and anxiety of dying in an upstairs bedroom, and I just can't talk about it. I can't handle this. And for you to talk to me about a one story, it's just, and he didn't even know this because she can't trust him with her feelings. So it comes out in counseling, and now there's this bombshell here of her friend dying as a child. Well, what do you do with that? Is that the issue? Is that like, okay, we've got it. There's a traumatic event as a child that happened, and now we're going with a one-story house because she had this traumatic event, and he needs to really learn how to help her so that she's not triggered and that so she is cared for, and we'll work through that trauma with her, that past event. But that really is the root of what happened, and that's the cause of their fight. And a biblical counselor would look at it a little bit differently because those things are very true. There is a traumatic event there. There are personality differences. There are things to work through when it comes to communication. But even if you work through those things, have you helped them? Yeah, yeah, you've helped them. But have you thoroughly helped them at the core of who they are so that when they move forward that they're going to have the tools that they need and that they're going to be helped? So at Biblical Counseling of Arizona, we believe that God brought it down even one more level. And you can see that there with the word heart. Our hearts were created, we were created to worship God. The word heart in the Bible has the idea of our affections, our desires, our wants, our cravings, our lusts. And it used this word for us to say that we were created for our heart to worship God with that. So there's a real tie with our hearts and our wants with what we worship. Whatever is most important to you is is your God, essentially. And so that means that our heart, as Jesus said, out of the abundance of our heart, the mouth speaks. And we see this, that I mean, even from a volcano, right? What is on the inside of a volcano has the way of coming out to the surface. If you get coffee, you put the coffee in the coffee pot and you press the button and out comes Mountain Dew. No, you would be very surprised because you put coffee into it, into what it is, and that's what's going to come out. And the same is true of our heart. And so a biblical counselor would see the main issue of what's going on about a heart of worship. And you find out as you talk to the wife and you talk to her about her perspective that she has a very low understanding of who God is. That she sees him, yeah, that he's in control, but that he doesn't care. He does not take care of his children, that he is not trustworthy. And so even though he's in charge and even though he is all-powerful God, she sees that as terrifying. And so as you work through this issue with them in counseling, that you see that her heart is running from God rather than running to God. And him and his perspective is just, he has a very selfish heart. He wants his way, and he wants her to just worship the ground he walks on. And he wants a 2-story house because he's got pride issues. I want the biggest house on the block. Wow. Exploring those things really reveals what is it that they want. She wants safety. She wants security. Are those bad things? No, but she wants them more than she wants God. And she sees that God is somebody to run from rather than run to. And he sees God as very useful and uses God to get his way. So going to the core of worship, helping them understand that God has created them to worship, and asking them, whose kingdom are you fighting for? Whose image do you want to reflect? Is it my kingdom come, my will be done on earth, or is it your kingdom come, your will be done? And so God changes their heart and changes their affections towards him. And now, as James chapter 3 talks about, that rather than having selfish ambition and selfish desires, that they can let go of those and they can go after what God wants. Well, what does God want? Does he want a 1-story house or a 2-story house? The Bible doesn't say, and that's why people get tripped up about the Bible, because they're looking up here and saying, okay, well, the Bible doesn't even talk about that. That's why the Bible's, we need psychology to get a little bit deeper. When in reality, the Bible is the very deepest to talk about the heart. And so out of the abundance of the heart, now he's going to care about the fact that his wife has been traumatized. And she's going to care about his heart because they care about the Lord and they want to reflect his image and reflect who he is. And their hearts soften to God and they soften to one another. And now they're having a conversation that's peaceful, that's loving, that's joyful, that's kind. Boy, it sounds a lot like the fruit of the Spirit. And now not only have you helped them work through their issue, you've drawn them closer to Christ. That now it's not just about his way and her way, it's about having Christ's way, which is to reflect his image in love and kindness and peace and gentleness. And now have you helped them? Yes, because you've not just helped them make a decision on what kind of house they want, because they're going to have that conversation and it's going to be good. And they will decide one way or the other, but at the end of the day, now they're going to have a peaceful home that loves God and loves each other. And we believe at Biblical Counseling of Arizona that that's the best approach to really help people, because not only are you helping them through their issue, not only are you helping them with their communication and their differences of opinion and their differences in gender and their background and their trauma, you're helping them to reflect the image of Christ. Because at the root of it, that's where the gospel comes into play. And that's where Jesus shows up. And he changes the heart into the image of Christ so that we can reflect him, and we can, rather than the image of God and man being broken from sin, the image of God and man being restored through Christ. So at BCA, we're not hunting after sin. We're not sin sniffers. We are grace sniffers. Where is God working? What is he doing? What is your heart? What are you worshiping? And as you get that right, as you focus in on Christ, How does that reflect in the world that he's made, in the world that we live, and how can we bring him glory? So hopefully that's helpful in understanding how we counsel here at BCA. Thanks.